So the idea of film, or motion picture, is basically a story or event told through a series of photographs, played continuously to create an illusion of movement. However, this concept was around long before even photography was perfected. The phenakistoscope and zoetrope were both types of optical toys used to demonstrate movement, by applying drawings of things in motion either on the face of a twirling disc, or on the inside of a rotating drum. Then in 1839, a French painter named Louis Daguerre perfected the photographic process known as a daguerreotype, a photographic process employing an iodine-sensitised silver plate and mercury vapour. And that same year, the English scientist William Henry Fox Talbot successfully demonstrated a negative photographic process that theoretically allowed for unlimited positive prints to be produced from each negative. Then 43 years later, French psychologist Etienne Jules Marais invented the chronophotographic gun, a camera shaped like a rifle that recorded 12 successive photographs per second by imprinting them on rotating glass plates. And another 5 years later, an Episcopalian minister named Hannibal Goodwin developed the idea of using celluloid as a base for photographic emulsions. And soon the inventor-industrialist George Eastman began manufacturing celluloid roll film in 1889 at his plant in Rochester, New York. A dedicated motion picture camera was soon created by French-born inventor Louis the Prince. He shot several short films in Leeds in 1888 and the following year began using the newly invented celluloid film. He was scheduled to show his work in New York City in 1890 but disappeared while travelling to France, so the exhibition never occurred, and the Prince's contribution to cinema remained unknown for decades. Thomas Alva Edison had invented the phonograph in 1877, and it quickly became the most popular home entertainment device of the century. Seeking to provide a visual accompaniment to the phonograph, Edison commissioned William Kennedy Dixon, a young laboratory assistant, to invent a motion picture camera in 1888. Dixon's camera, the kinetograph, soon became regarded as the world's first motion picture camera, initially imprinting up to 15 metres of celluloid film at the rate of 40 frames per second. To accompany the kinetograph, Edison had Dixon design a type of peep show viewing device called the kinetoscope, in which a continuous 14-metre film loop ran on spools between an incandescent lamp and a shutter for individual viewing. Starting in 1894, kinetoscopes were marketed commercially for $250 to $300 a piece. The Edison Company soon established its own kinetograph studio, a single-room building called the Black Maria that rotated on tracks to follow the sun, to supply films for the kinetoscopes that were being installed in most semi-public places. In April of that year, the first kinetoscope parlour was opened in a converted storefront in New York City, which charged 25 cents for admission to a bank of 5 machines. In fact, it was a kinetoscope exhibition in Paris that inspired two brothers, Auguste and Louis Lumière, to invent the first commercially viable projector. Their cinematograph, which functioned as a camera and a projector, ran at the economical speed of 16 frames per second. Unlike the kinetograph, which was battery-driven and weighed more, the cinematograph was hand-cranked, lightweight and relatively portable. This naturally affected the kind of films that were made on each machine. Edison films initially featured materials such as a circus or a vaudeville act, that could be taken into a small studio to perform before a static camera, while early Lumiere films were mainly documentary views or actualities, shot outdoors on location. In both cases, however, the films themselves were composed of a single unedited shot emphasising lifelike movement. They contained little or no narrative content. After a few design changes, the machines made it possible for Edison and Lumiere to shoot the same kind of subjects. In general, Lumiere technology became the European standard during the early era. And because the Lumiere sent the camera all over the world in search of exotic subjects, the cinematograph became the founding instrument of distant cameras in Russia, Australia and Japan. Soon film started to take much more of a narrative approach, with the likes of A Trip to the Moon by Georges Méliès in 1902. Méliès was a magician who came into the industry as an entertainer, and saw film as a way to tell stories rather than being just a technical marvel. And after the Great Train Robbery in 1903, the new medium was an instant success with audiences, and soon more films began incorporating stories into their structure. Sound soon came into the picture in 1927, with Al Johnson in The Jazz Singer, another success that changed films from then on.
Wonderful pals are always hard to find. Some folks have one, some folks have none.